paid my dues time after time. I've done my sentence, but committed no crime.
Hello, everyone. This is Navy Vet ET2. I'm doing local news in Houston area and South Houston and Southeast Houston. This is the first 2 weeks of February. Helping Hands in Fifth Ward. A famous old building, the St. Elizabeth Hospital, was finally fixed up. Instead of sitting up empty, it is now being used to provide affordable homes for people in the Fifth Ward. Turned the hospital into affordable homes. A pretty good idea, I think. The World Cup is coming to people are getting excited because of the FIFA World Cup tour, and there's like 5 events in Houston and a couple more places in Texas and other areas. You can go on the Substack. You'll find links to these events or to the page that has the events. Police news in Southeast Houston. Police made an arrest after shooting at a nightclub. They are still looking for the two other people involved. Also, a big group of people who were stealing money from ATMs, bank machines across several states were caught right here in Texas. Safety. Safety in nearby Alvin ISD. A student sadly had a medical emergency and passed away at school. This has made many parents talk about how to keep the school classrooms even safer for kids. He was eating lunch, started choking. The teacher rushed over, performed a Heimlich maneuver. The school resource officers and the school nurse showed up. Then the emergency services came over, and he was actually pronounced dead at the hospital. Now they're talking about what are teachers required to have as far as CPR and training and all that. And they're pushing to get every teacher is required to have CPR and possibly the Heimlich maneuver taught to it. And which I already thought was happening, and I think it is, but it's just an outcry. It was an accident. It happened. Yes, they need to look at it around the schools just to make sure people are qualified, but it looks as though the school did everything they were supposed to do at the time. There was just nothing they can do. Business cost. Right now, there's Montrose area. The businesses there are small businesses, and they're starting to complain. They have enough traffic. They have enough customers coming in, but due to the increase in their rent on the space and the increase of the supply, they're not going to be able to stay in business because it's costing them much more to get stuff and stay in those buildings than it is to actually sell the stuff. So it may start shutting down businesses on Montrose. So we may see that soon. School voucher program. This I have mixed feelings about because of the cost and how much they're providing. One of the first things here is a new program called Texas Education Freedom Accounts. Started taking applications February 4th. It gives families money, about $10,000 to help pay for private school and homeschooling if they don't want to go to public school. The program pays $10,500 approximately for private school, $30,000 for disabled. And if you're homeschooled, it offers $2,000 for that if you don't want to go to public school. Proponents are saying it's a bad thing. Applications for the $1 billion program are open through March 17th, 2026, with priority given to low-income families with students with special needs. Key details of the school's voucher program: application period February 4th to March 17, 2026. Notifications in April and funding in July. Funding amount: private school, $10,500 approximately. Students with disabilities, up to $30,000 based on need. Homeschoolers, approximately $2,000 per year. The funds managed via an online portal can be used for tuition fees and other educational related expenses. Prioritization. The program focuses on children with disabilities and low-income families. Eligibility and scope. The program is for students leaving public school for private school or home education, with an estimated 100,000 students participating in the year. The budget has $1 million cap for the first 2 years, with costs potentially rising to $4.8 billion in 2030. The initiative established by Senate Bill 2 that's Texas Senate Bill 2, in 2025 represents a major change in Texas education funding, drawing both supporters from school choice and opposition, regardless of the diversion of public funds. Yeah, school choice I don't agree with, and for a couple of reasons, because they don't provide. If you want to go to a better school, yeah, you can go, but they don't always provide transportation for that. Because there's two towns next to each other. One's a lower, not so good education, and the one next to it's real good education. So people from the lower education try to come over to the better education, which crams these schools and cuts back on funding for the other schools in the other district. Instead of raising teachers' pay and improving the education system, they react as teachers the school choice, they're calling it. On top of that, okay, school board meetings. Deer Park ISD and Pasadena and some of the others are discussing Senate Bill 12, Texas Senate Bill 12, which is the Parents' Bill of Rights, telling the teachers what they get. It's diversity, equity, inclusions in there. And I'm not sure what else. I'll have to read it more in detail, but that's SB 12. I was trying to look for a synopsis. This is off of the Texas Education Agency. As a parent, your most important voice in your child's education. The Texas law recognizes that students do the best when families are informed, involved, and respected. Parents are partners with educators, administrators, and school boards of trustees. In their children's education, parents have specific rights outlined in the Texas Education Code, including Chapter 26, Parental Rights and Responsibilities. This form provides information about many of the parents' rights and options described in Texas Education Code, including the right to refuse or remove your child for certain activities and instruction. It is not a complete description of our parental rights. Parents should review this from time to time, along with their district school handbook. Yeah, those are things that are thick now. Parental rights. Parents are entitled to choose the educational setting that best fits their child, including public school, private, school choice. Rights regarding course of study and supplementary. Parents have the right to participate and direct their child's academic career. They are allowed to request changes to their child's course assignments, including the addition of specific classes to the overall offering of their child's school. Yes. So basically, they can say you can get involved in it, but you have to stick with state standards. To increase the sustained parental involvement, the children's education parents have many rights to access and oversight of instructional materials used in their children's classroom. A parent is entitled to review all teaching materials, instruction materials, and other teaching aids used in their child's classroom. Rights regarding grades and class rank and attendance information. Before each school year, a district must adopt a grading policy that describes how grades are for class assignments or examinations will be awarded. Additionally, your district or school will post on their website an instructional plan or course syllabus for each of the classes offered for each semester. Each child's teacher must also give this to a parent as well, and a parent can ask for another copy anytime. Texas law requires children of specific age to attend school, typically referred to as the compulsory attendance law. Parents have certain rights that exempt their children from compulsory attendance or authorized excused absences. The state requires students to be present for 90% of the day a class is offered in order to receive credit for a course or a final grade. 90% of the day to get credit. Parents' rights regarding student promotion, retention, and grade graduation policy. Parents have the right, certain rights to request that their child programs in the education career more slowly or quickly, depending on the abilities of progress. A parent may request that their child repeat certain grades or courses. Yeah, that's a slippery slope. Districts are required to notify parents, but halfway through each grading period if the child's performance is in reading, language, arts, math, social sciences, social studies, and it's unsatisfactory. So if they're making a bad grade, they're required to report it halfway through so the student can improve. Rights regarding health and education instructions. Basically, they've got it now where the nurses and any medical aids that may be needed, they cannot do unless it's in writing from the parent that says they're allowed to do it. And some of them actually have to go down. They can give you this. You can give my child this, or this. And that's It's on the website. Should be on your school board website. The things you need to do. Rights regarding sexual orientation and gender identity. The state's legislature has prohibited instruction and guidance for students relating to sexual orientation or gender identities. Accordingly, school districts must have a policy and prohibit staff assistance of students. Socially transitioning parents have certain rights related to observed violations of the policy, and school boards must investigate complaints. That's more than a mouthful. Additional school districts must have a policy prohibiting staff assistance of a student socially transitioning. Basically, they can't say, okay, yeah, you want to be a girl and we'll use that. And you can't be a boy and we'll use that. That means a teacher can't go, okay, we're going to use this name instead of the name that's on record. They can't do that if it contradicts, but that's neither here nor there. They can't use gender opposite of what they're presenting in a way. Actually, let me scratch that whole part. Don't do that one. Basically, they're not wanting transgender in school. They're following the nation laws. It says they can't talk about it. The teachers can't help anybody doing it. And they have to go to the bathroom that they were born with. If they were born a male, they have to go to the male bathroom. If they're born a girl, they have to go to the girl's bathroom. Stupid, because it's been working all these years up until this guy got in office. Rights regarding healthcare and health-related services. One's worded for the nurses and one's others worded for teachers. Rights regarding gifted and talented students. School districts must develop a process to identify severe student. School districts must develop a process to identify and serve students who are considered gifted and talented. Each district has a policy about how gifted and talented students are identified and served. Gifted for special education, bilingual education, and special language programs. Students with disabilities and emergent bilingualist students are entitled to certain protections and programs under both federal and state laws. Parents have to have the right to be involved and informed in their education experience and are entitled to receive specific notice of insurance. Rights. Okay, data collection. This is you. They are supposed to make you known of what they collect, what they send out, and what they provide to other schools and things like that. Here's where it's important. The military is now getting a list of all graduates, and I think it's actually starting in the 9th grade. You get the paperwork to opt out of that, sending that thing. Make sure you read all the paperwork and you keep up on that and ensure that you have everything not allowed that you don't want allowed and go from there. Rights regarding grievance procedures. Parents have several options when they suspect a requirement is not being followed. You are encouraged to work through disagreements with your child's teachers and campus administration. School districts must also have a local grievance procedures process, and Yeah, basically you file for the grievance, but if you're in HISD, that's going to be few and far between because that's run by the school, by the state. They put in place and the teachers and the parents are not on board with him per se because of his attitude, his previous superintendent up in Dallas, and also tries to do his way or the highway and doesn't accept inputs. He's using his buddies to help out. And now he is closing schools. Let's go down and see the list of schools. HISD, here we go. HISD superintendent is talking about closing some schools that don't have enough students. This has many parents worried. Placido Gomez, an elected HISD trustee with no voting power under the ongoing state takeover. So they're voted in, but they have no power. Expressed frustration over what he said he was a lack of community input. If HISD needs to consider consolidate schools, they should make the case to the community and ask for meaningful input before making final decisions. Gomez said the appointed board's lack of community engagement is unacceptable. And yes, it has been lack of engagement since it started, and that was like 3 years ago. You can look at their school boards are online if you want to view them. Parents are allowed to speak out in their school boards. You're allowed to do a Zoom call at what before now. It may change later, but you need to go and make sure you're heard if you're in the school district, and if you have something you want to input for the school district, be sure and you're heard. They were talking about cutting off the Zoom because they were like, no, we want everybody here because of lack of community involvement. Totally wrong, because the community is turned out at every meeting talking about what's going wrong, talking about what needs to be done. But of course but they've been hitting every school in Texas trying to get books taken out of school, even though the books say 18 or older, 17 or older, 18 or older, which is high school. But they're trying to say it's in the elementary school or it's in junior high, and it's not. They go to say, oh, I went to the library and I found this book, and then start reading from the book, but they don't put into context what it really is. It's limited on who can get it, and every parent can go down to the school and look at what the books are and verify that those are right or wrong. Be sure you go down and say your student can't do these books, or he can do all the books, or he can't do the books above this, and then get with them, because it's also important to notify them if they're doing something wrong, like giving a Spanish book because the person's dark-skinned. They need to know these things and straighten it out. Don't be afraid to tell your school what you feel, especially in HISD. Tell them how you feel, and if the school board does not do what you want, contact the Texas Board of Education. If they don't, then go to the Texas state government. Get them involved, because Abbott's the one that changed this over. So there's that. The schools that are being closed, there are 12 of them recommended for closures. Alcott Elementary, whose students will transfer to Mating Elementary. Briscoe Elementary, whose students will transition to Carrillo Elementary. Elementary, whose students will transfer to Kennedy Elementary. Franklin Elementary, whose students will transition to Gallegos Elementary. Henderson NQ Elementary, whose students will transfer to Bruce Elementary. Wow, isn't that two? Okay. Port Houston Elementary, whose students will transition to Pleasantville Elementary. Rose Elementary, whose students will transition to Roosevelt Elementary or Clementine Martinez Elementary School, family choice. Gage Elementary, which will be co-located with Lantrip Elementary. Fleming Middle School, which will be co-located with Mickey Leland College Preparatory Academy for young men. Mr. McReynolds Middle School will be co-located with Mickey Leland College Preparatory School for young men. Hobby Elementary, which will be co-located with Lawson Middle School. Gulfton Middle College, which will be co-located with Liberty High School. Gulftown Middle School Middle College is going to transfer. Miles, this is Superintendent Miles, said that there could be a way to honor each of the campuses that are closes. That's the school board stuff, and check their local websites for the dates and times of their school boards and the meetings. Check your city council also, and be sure to show up for those. Also in school, the cell phone debate is back going again, and there's proponents that are asking for they're talking about stricter bans on phones during class and to help the kids focus better. I'm sorry, but why has a student got his phone out in the school? And when I've had when I was married, I had 3 children, two-step on my own, went through school. They were allowed to bring phones to school, but were not allowed to have them out in the school building. If they had them out in the school building the first time, it was taken up by the school principal to the end of the day, and the parents had to come pick it up. And then it would be weeks to months to the end of the school year, which, hey, I disagreed with some of that. But if your student doesn't listen and then you need to discuss something with your child. But the issue I have with school shootings, they have, what is going to happen when there's an emergency? If they don't have a phone on them, how are they going to contact anybody? The students don't have a phone. The teachers don't have a phone because they don't want in the classroom. What happens in an emergency? Some classrooms have a phone, but it's only local inside the school building. They can't call out, keep the students from using the phones, which it is. But think about that. If the phone can't call out of the school, students don't have cell phones, and an emergency comes up, somebody's going to run from that class. Call the phone up there. But if they can't leave the classroom or can't use the phone to call the classroom, what's going to happen? How's the student going to run? And if they got a shooter in the school, they can't run to notify anybody, and there's no phone to let these people, the parents, know what happens. Because a lot of times on the outside, you're told this is happening at school. There's a active shooter at the school, and they have no information. And it's better, in my opinion, that at least they have it. If they're in the same classroom all day, it's fine to put it on the wall and the little slide, but who's going to monitor and ensure the right people get the phones back? I think as long as the phone is not disrupting the class, they can have it. If they pull it out in class, that's a failure of the system, and that needs to stop on the student's part. If they continually violate that rule, then they can talk to the parents and say, hey, your child is not listening to the rules, so what can we do to make sure he does follow the rules about the phone? Because there are some classes that use phones, and they're saying, oh, students are cheating with the phones. Students cheat. Students find a way to cheat. I mean, I went through school that people would tap their pencils in the session. They'd be going along, they'd tap, depending on ABC. People look over the shoulder, cheat. That one's not. Student cheats with the stuff in their lap. Yeah, it's just all kinds of things. They wrote on their arms. Cheating's always going to happen, and it's up to the teacher to catch it. And if they have the cell phone out, they're violating the role of having the cell phone in the classroom, which is a violation, which is what it should be. Okay, that's my cell phone. We do have elections coming up on March 3rd, and I recommend that you go to the Texas or the Ballotpedia and look on there to see what each one of them is. And I'll give more details about where to look stuff up, because you can go to the clerk, clerk at house.gov or the congress.gov, and you can look up how the people voted on there and see what they voted for, what they didn't. There are some other sites coming up that'll actually lay out, this is what they lean towards, this is what they don't. And if you go to the Texas Voting Commission, the Texas voting site, SOS, Secretary of State, they have ballots on there now, that the primary ballots, so you can go ahead and look at those. And that starts at the end of February. The actual day is, I think, March 3rd. They have early voting starting next week, I think. So find out your information, make sure you get there. Okay, but we have the U.S. Senate is John Cornyn, Ken Paxton, and Wesley Hunt, or Republicans. Democrats is Jasmine Crockett, James Talrico, Ahmad Hassan. For Attorney General is Chip Roy, Mays Middleton. He was Senator Joan Huffman. And for the Democrats, you have Tony Box, Joe Jorwinski, Nathan Johnson for comptroller. There's 6 running for comptroller. I will go through and give the candidates that are and who they're endorsed by, because I have right now, I'm working on the progressives, Texas caucus to get those in there, and also the Progressive Democrats of America, get those on there so that you can see who's honoring or who's city council news. South Houston on February 10th, the city council talked about having about fixing the big sewer cave in on Amarillo Street, which is to Houston, South Houston, Texas. So there's that. And approve a plan for Chinese New Year's party starting on February 17th. They've also decided to end their contract, current city engineer, Houston City Council, House City Council. Houston City Council, they talked about quality of life issues, making it illegal to park cars in the front lawn, front yard, how to make recycling better. That's all they're working on. Upcoming events on February 14th to the 15th is Pasadena Gun Show. It's a premier event. February 17th, Chinese New Year celebration, South Houston. February 19th is State of City Address, Pasadena. February 21st is Greater Houston Train Show in Pasadena. February 22nd is Gulf Coast Toy Expo, Pasadena. February 23rd is Deer Park ISD School Board meeting. Community groups, the community groups in the area. Pasadena has Citizen Advisory Council, Pasadena Historical Society, the Bridge Over Troubled Water Volunteers. Deer Park has Art Players Community Theater and VIPAR, VIPAR, initials teen volunteer program. Also, they have the Neighborhood Park Patrol was working with the police, and they train you to a degree how to be a citizen police patrol, and give you a little bit of understanding. That does have the restriction: if you're a felon, you can't do it. If you can't own a weapon, you can't do the program. It's basically the way they say it, because they do offer some training courses with the firearm. South Houston Local Neighborhood Watch Group of South Houston Economic Development Corporation. It's linked on there. Most of this stuff is linked. You'll find some that's not linked because it's not really anything linked to. ICE enforcement. There was a case of ICE that shot a person, and they lied they're being accused of lying. So we'll find out that. No new thing there. That's like everything else. Didn't get this. I was looking for the state and the city, but I didn't see it on the report I was looking at. But it's just general anyway, because we're going to have that everywhere. Housing, the housing help is transforming San Elizabeth Hospital. It's already done that. Soccer. And Houston market shift. For the first time in 6 years, it's becoming easier for regular people to buy homes in Houston because of their more houses for sale and prices are steady. Yeah. The problem is they're building condos, and they're 400 to 500,000 starting inside the city, which is trying to weed out some of the people that are there. So you can guess what that is. But they're saying they're beautification, but if you put them so high that people can't afford them, how can they buy them? Now, the sources for most of these stories is Houston Chronicle, Texas Tribune, KRPC2. Click to Houston. There's another radio station. There's another station, a Fox station. I use that sometimes because I want both sides of the story. So you see some Fox stuff in there too. KTRH News Radio 740. It's right biased, actually mid to option opinion. It's mixed opinion, basically. Covers ICE enforcement debates. Deer Park ISD official website, where you get school notes. Deer Park also has a city. Pasadena has a city. South Houston has a city council on the board on the web. Houston has one. So yeah, all your cities should have one that you can go to. The Texas Senate summary. The biggest news in the Texas Senate special election was where a Democrat, Taylor Rahman, Ramette won. His seat usually belongs to a Republican. This is a big deal. Changes in the balance of power in Austin, just as they are making decisions about school money. Yeah. And then there's finally a link at the bottom that gives you the local elections for Texas area that you can go look at, candidates updates. You can look at that. I would also suggest using in Ballotpedia, the congressional websites, even their federal and state, to look up candidates. Ballotpedia should have links to all that if you're looking on there. So there's that. Like, share, follow. Please remember, you're always loved no matter what you do. And follow me on my organizations. Thank you and goodbye.
We are the champions. No time.